me give you a big Labor Day surprise. Most people think if we all exercise the same and eat the same, we'd all look the same. And let me tell you why that's wrong. Your body is unique and your metabolism is unique. I'm Lacey Green and I'm a super trainer at Body. That's BODI.com. And you can't see me, but I don't look like your average personal trainer. I'm curvy and I'm proud of it. So I created a program for beginners only on the Body app to show people like us how to get incredible results and be our version of happy and healthy. This isn't just workout videos. It's people like you and me. It's community. It's incredible trainers. It's easy to follow nutrition and mindset experts to help you reduce stress and just feel better. And you can get started with my new program called For Beginners Only. Now, here's the big surprise. If you go to body.com right now, that's BODI.com, not only can you get everything Body has to offer at 50% off with an annual membership, you'll also get an additional 20% off, but only during Labor Day weekend. Let's do this together. Go to body.com. That's body with an I.com.
Hi there, Duke fans, and welcome to the 10th episode number 10 of DBR Bites. I am Jason Evans, here for your listening enjoyment today. We're going to have a brief conversation with my buddy Donald Wine. Donald, how you feeling?
Well, I woke up and the NBA Twitterverse was on fire, and has remained that all day. Which, Jason, that's exactly why we're here.
That is why we're here. We're going to talk about a few of the Dukies in the NBA who are moving on to new teams. As the NBA trade deadline, we're recording this just about an hour and a half, 2 hours past the NBA trade deadline. There might still be trades flying under the radar that we're not missing. I mean, that time from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern time on Thursday, as the trade deadline approached at 3 o'clock, was absolutely bonkers. That's why we wanted to hop on here and just talk about how crazy it was.
I will say, Jason, we found like the most valuable player of the NBA apparently is 5 second-round draft picks, because
it was insane to me how many of these trades were like, so and so is going here for 4 second-round draft picks for 5 second. I was like, God, that's a lot of picks. I know second-rounders don't turn into stars, but that's a lot of players.
You find some gems in that. I mean, there's so many success stories. Obviously, there's a lot of busts, but there's so many success stories that do come from second-round picks, and it obviously depends on where these teams end up slotting up. But yeah, it was very interesting to see, like, some team would send another team 5, and then that team would send those 5 somewhere else, would then go somewhere else. I feel for whoever at NBA headquarters has to write the draft or rewrite the draft order for the next 10 years, because I don't know what it is.
What I noticed actually today was there were not a lot of, at least toward the deadline, there were not many first round picks that got traded. Teams don't want to trade those first round picks, but when it came to Kevin Durant,
yeah, exactly.
KD was on the move. They were trading first round picks left and right.
So, Jason, I think we should talk about that real quickly, because even though it did, the trade itself did not involve any Dukies. I mentioned on Twitter that at a certain point with the way that the Nets have evolved over the last 48 hours, Kyrie Irving first, then Kevin Durant going for 4 draft picks plus Jay Crowder plus Mikal Bridges. I think there was someone else involved in that trade. There was a pick swap involved. Seth Curry's probably sitting there like, yo, who's left at the Barclays Center? Is it just me? Like, he probably was like the very last scene of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where Will Smith is just standing in an empty living room with no furniture, just looking around like, where did everybody go? That's probably Seth Curry right now.
I'll tell you something. So I have season tickets to the Atlanta Hawks. I have really great seats. 5th row, center court, comes with all you can eat food and drink. These are primo seats.
And I will remember this next time I'm in town.
There you go. Next time you're in town, we're going to a game. To be clear, I don't have the entire season for myself. I share it with a couple friends of mine. But one of the ways I help pay for this, because these are very expensive tickets, is I sell some of my games. And usually what I do is, like, my first few picks, as I'm putting together my list of games for the season, the first few ones I take are ones that I'm like, I know this is going to sell for big numbers. I promise, Donald, this is going to make sense. This is going to relate to what you're talking about. Give me 1 second. It's all going to come together, buddy. Anyway, I think my first pick was the Lakers game. My second, and I'm trading, I'm alternating with other people. So not like I had the very first pick overall, but I got the Lakers game, which I sold for, I almost paid for the entire season with just the Lakers game. Great. But like my third pick was a Brooklyn game coming up at the end of the month. And I thought I was going to sell that for big money. Literally today, someone asked me about it, and I was like, yeah, I'll give them to you for face value. Because the Nets went from this team that everybody wanted to watch to no Durant, no Kyrie. I don't even know who they have at this point.
Jason
Thomas. They're all about
they're
Cam
led
Thomas
by
at this point.
No, the answer is they're led by Ben Simmons. And Jason, here's what I want to tell you about Ben Simmons. If you go to that game at the end of the month and you find your way onto the basketball court and you grab the basketball and you attempt the 3-pointer, you will have attempted as many 3-pointers as Ben Simmons has all year long. So I'm rooting for you, and I think you can make it, unlike Ben Simmons.
Oh boy. All right, let's get to look. This is the DBR. This is the Duke basketball report. Duke, we said, let's get to the Dukies on the move, because there were 3 Dukies who, in the final hour of the day of the NBA trade deadline, who all found themselves on new teams, sometimes through some crazy different ways of moving around. The first one, the one that happened last of all 3 of them, and let's take these one at a time in order. Mason Plumlee went from the Charlotte Hornets to the LA Clippers. Basically the trade for Reggie Jackson of the Clippers. So trading a perimeter guy in Reggie Jackson for a big man in Mason Plumlee. Mason's name, there may have been no name out there in the final hours, the final days of the NBA trade deadline that was being thrown around more than Mason Plumlee. And it wasn't teams who were saying, oh, this is the guy who's going to come to my team and become a star. This wasn't a Kevin Durant kind of situation, obviously, but there were a lot of teams and a lot of fans out there that looked at the season that Mason is having, arguably the best season of his entire career. And they were like, this guy can be a huge piece for us. And I know, Charlotte wasn't going anywhere. Charlotte wasn't going to be doing anything this year in terms of the postseason. The Clippers are looking, they're getting healthy. They got their stars in Paul George and
Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard, thank you. Completely blanked in Kawhi Leonard's name there. They've got their stars. They're looking for pieces that fit around them, and I think they're really happy to have gotten Mason Plumlee. It's a big deal for him to be playing on a playoff team like this. He'll be backing up Ivica Zubac, who's their starting center, who plays about 29 minutes a game. But I think Mason's going to push him. It's possible that Zubac will play a little bit less, and Mason will get in there, 25 or so minutes per game for the Clippers. The one interesting thing to me is whether or not he's going to have the ball in his hands as much as he did in Charlotte. Mason was like a point center at times for Charlotte. They were running their offense through him because he's such a good passer. He has really impressive assist numbers for a big man. And I'm not sure, with the creators that the Clippers have, I don't know that they'll use Mason quite that way, but I think this is a really interesting move for him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good move for him because, Jason, like you said, I think he's going to push Zubac for a lot of time, especially in the post. You were mentioning his passing ability. I think the thing about what Charlotte did, and this is not necessarily to equate Mason Plumlee with Nikola Jokic, but they kind of ran a similar style of offense in that the ball went through the 5 instead of going through a point guard. So I think the one thing about Mason Plumlee is I don't know if he'll be in the game towards crunch time. I think the one thing he, has been that he struggled with a lot during his career has been free throws, to the point where he's shooting them left-handed now because he found that he shoots them better left-handed than right-handed.
By the way, he sometimes shoots jump shots left-handed too, which is hysterical to look at.
But the funny thing is that it started to work for him, especially this year. He's found a little confidence in that. And also on defense, I think, Zubac is thought of as probably a better defender, but Mason Plumlee is no slouch on defense. He'll go after balls and he'll be a guy that can kind of, hold it down in the center spot, so to speak, in the paint. I think this makes it interesting for him because he is going to be on the team that is trying to challenge for the Western Conference, one of the many teams at this point that's considered a favorite. And so I think this is going to be good. Maybe this helps him elevate his game, especially when he has guys like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to pass to.
Look, but Donald, the biggest thing about this deal, from a Duke fan standpoint, Mason, he goes from being the starting center in Charlotte to a backup, but probably playing prominent minutes on the Clippers. Charlotte no longer has a starting center, and I think it's very, very possible that we're about to see Mark Williams as the starting center for the Charlotte Hornets. For people who have not been paying attention to what Mark Williams has been doing lately, dude has been balling out over the past few weeks, like really impressive, putting up really good numbers. He's only been playing, like 15 minutes per game or so. Sometimes he'll spike up as much as like 19 or 20. But if he's able to maintain what he's been doing and his minutes increase, you're going to hear people starting to really notice the numbers that Mark Williams is putting up, because if you look at his stats this year on a 36-minute per game basis, that sometimes people will normalize stats for, let's pretend like you're a starter and you play 36 minutes a game. Here are Mark Williams' stats on a per 36-minute basis: 18.2 points per game, 13.4 rebounds per game. That's a big number. 2.6 block shots per game. So he is a guy who is impacting the game in terms of his rim protection and in terms of grabbing rebounds in a very big way. And I'm super excited to see what he does, because I guarantee one of the reasons Charlotte made this deal was that they recognize that they want to give more minutes to Mark Williams.
Yeah, well, they've gotten a lot younger. I mean, the Charlotte, I won't say the Charlotte experiment, but this year it has not worked out for them. They're not one of the better teams in the NBA. They're down there alongside my Detroit Pistons in the battle for Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. But I think the thing about this is they're looking to go young, and hopefully they're looking to develop some of that young talent that they have acquired over the last couple of years. And they've had some injuries. A lot of people are starting to get back healthy again, but now is the time where they can focus on building that core and getting them to play minutes together. That's where Mark Williams comes in. And like you said, his stats, when you extrapolate them to full, games, or at least close to full games, he's putting up some pretty good numbers, especially on the defensive end with the rebounds and the blocks. That's where he's not. We don't think Charlotte needs him to put in 18, 20, 25 points a game, but they will like him to pull down 10, 13 rebounds a game and block a few shots, because I think one thing that Charlotte has not done well this year, which is why they've lost a lot, has played defense. And if Mark Williams can be a sizable defender in the paint, then Charlotte their prospects for improvement will go much higher very quickly.
Hey, so we mentioned Mason Plumlee moving to the LA Clippers. Moving away from the LA Clippers is Luke Kennard, who has gone from there to the Memphis Grizzlies. He stays in the Western Conference. He stays on one of those teams that's toward the top of the Western Conference and will be battling to hopefully make a very, very deep run in the playoffs. He gets to join Tyus Jones, which would be fun for Duke fans there in Memphis. I'm really intrigued at seeing what Memphis does with Kennard, because they've got some wings, shooting guard, small forwards that they really like there in Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bane. They've got a good backup in John Conchar, who actually starts occasionally for them, and he's a good defender. And they've got a pretty nice situation, but they brought in Luke Kennard intentionally. And I kind of wonder if maybe, look, Desmond Bane is outstanding. Dylan Brooks has struggled. If you looked at Dylan Brooks' numbers, he's not shooting good from 2. He's not shooting good from 3. Now he's a good defender, and Memphis values defense in a big, big way. But I'm wondering if maybe Luke Kennard is coming there to push Dylan Brooks a little bit and provide a little extra 3-point shooting around the greatness that is Ja Morant.
Yeah, he's there to provide 3-point shooting insurance, if you want to say. Also 2-point, because Jason, just like he did in college, he's done a lot in the NBA of being able to, once he establishes that he can hit the 3, kind of move into that 15-foot range and hit, mid-range jumpers as well. But his idea is to keep the second unit running while he is on the floor, at least from an offensive standpoint. And also, we saw him on the Clippers, not all the time, but especially when guys were hurt, be on the court during clutch time where, they need a 3-pointer or they need, a shot. He was one of those guys that was, on the floor with hands in the air trying to take that shot. So he brings that experience, and also just the experience of the great thing for him is he's really not moving downwards. It's kind of a lateral move, so to speak. You're going from one contender to another, from the Clippers to the Grizzlies. And of course he gets to, watch as Ja Morant kind of flies all over the arena, with vicious dunks and all that stuff. So I think, it's a pretty good move for him. It'll be interesting, as you mentioned, to see how those rotations work out, but I think he can work his way right in there.
The one thing about Luke Kennard is, man, that dude he can really shoot. Have you seen his free throws? He's hitting 95% of his free throws in the season.
Yeah.
That's outrageous. He's also hitting almost 45% of his 3-pointers He has, for the past 3 years, he has consistently been at 44-45% on his 3-pointers. That's, it's an amazing
I think he's
number
very close. I think he's very close to a 50-40-90 season right now. I mean, I think he's at like 48 or 49% from the floor. So he just needs to
his 2 point
just a bit.
He's at 46% on his 2 point, overall on field goals. So he needs to get those two. He barely hits 2-pointers better than he hits his 3-pointers, which is kind of crazy. All right. The last Dukie on the move that we want to talk about, Cam Reddish, goes from the New York Knicks to the Portland Trail Blazers in a trade for Josh Hart. There were several other assets involved in this trade. This was not a straight up deal by any stretch of the imagination. There may be nobody whose stock has declined quite as much as Cam Reddish's has over the past year or so. I feel like this guy, if he gets a chance in Portland, he's playing for his NBA future. He's playing for his NBA next contract. He does not have a contract. He'll be a free agent this summer, and he'll be a restricted free agent. And it'll be interesting to see if Portland wants to retain him or not. I guess they'll have a chance now to see what he can do. But he had completely fallen out of favor in New York, and it's kind of weird because early in the year, like back in October, November, he was playing a pretty good bit for the Knicks. He had several games where he was scoring like pretty nicely. He had games where he was scoring 20 plus points. And then like suddenly I think it was late November or early December, just like they stopped playing. He literally, I don't think he's appeared in a game in 2023 so far. I'd have to go and check, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't. And I don't know if he did something to piss off the Knicks management or the Knicks coaching staff, but they've been shopping him around. There hadn't been any takers finally at the deadline. They made a deal and sent him to Portland. Portland's got some good wings ahead of him. I mean, Anthony Simmons is really good. He's a 20-point per game player on the wing. They drafted Shaedon Sharpe, who may have the highest vertical leap of anybody in the NBA. Shaedon Sharpe is just outrageous athlete. So they've got some, and they also moved a bunch of different guys around at the trade deadline. They've got Jeremy Grant. Justice Winslow is also on Portland. They got a lot of different interesting pieces. I'm not sure where Cam finds time, but he's got to find time somewhere if he's going to continue to be an NBA player after this season.
And you also, we were talking about this before, but they also just traded for Matisse Thybulle. So that is a big deal because he's a defensive specialist. Mm-hmm. He's one of the better wing defenders in the entire NBA, which is something Cam has struggled at. Right. And also what that means is, he was one of the guys who was starting / getting a lot of minutes for the Philadelphia 76ers. And he's probably going to move into that starting lineup in Portland. So that's still taking another, instance of a guy that could be taking time away from Cam Reddish. But yeah, you're right. He has to figure out a way to get on the floor and also get hot. And especially, in college and even early in his career, he was shooting threes. And that's where he's going to need to find a niche, because for all the shooters that they do have, Anthony Simmons can shoot the three. Obviously, Dame can shoot from anywhere in Oregon. But Cam has to be that guy too. He has to be a third option for if they need a three, if they need to get hot from deep. He needs to be the guy to do it. And this is kind of a trial for him. He's taken 3 months to kind of play for some money elsewhere and be seen and try to figure out if he can find a place in this lineup. So good luck to him. And I think he can do it, but he has to turn it around pretty quickly.
So with that, we're going to wrap it up here on the latest edition of DBR Bites as we discuss the Dukies on the move around the NBA. There are obviously many, many, many other Dukies who stayed put and have some really, really interesting situations. The Celtics didn't really make any big moves. There were a lot of talk that the Celtics would make a move, as they are certainly one of the leading contenders for the NBA title this year, and that is all built around our man Jason Tatum. It's going to be really interesting to see how these final couple months of the season play out.
I just want to say, we just did 3 trades of what seems to be a billion trades that happened today. Or we talked about 4 because we talked about KD as well, but we've talked about a ton of trades. I just want you guys to realize that how volatile this trade deadline was. Over the last 2 weeks, only 2 teams have not made a deal, and that was the Bulls and the Cavaliers. Every other team in the NBA made at least some deal, whether it was trading picks or being involved in a trade that involved someone else. Every other team in the NBA made some sort of move in the last 2 weeks, except for the Bulls and the Cavs. So it shapes up where everyone's talking about who's the number one team in the East and the West. The answer is, these next few weeks are going to be wild as these teams all these teams try to adjust to the new players that they have in their system. It's going to be fun to watch. And we have the All-Star break coming up in a couple weeks. So we just learned actually that Zion will not be back in time for that. So there's a lot of guys who it'll be interesting to see how this NBA season plays out, but it's very clear that everyone is trying to build up to win. And I guess the KD trade late last night kind of shook everybody in the gear this morning.
Yeah, it's been fun stuff. All right, we will be back. The DBR will return after the game against Virginia. A big, big, big game for the Duke Blue Devils as they try to right the wrong that happened on Monday at Miami. Woo, boy, that thing still stinks. It's been several days and it still
needs that one. We needs this one.
This is a huge, huge game for Duke. All right, for Donald, I am Jason. For Sam, who couldn't be with us, for the Dukies in the NBA, earning big money and moving to new places. That's it. DBR Podcast, episode number 10 in the books. Duke Band, play us out and take us home.
Hey, Katie, let me hold $1.
$1? You want more than $1.
Let me give you a big Labor Day surprise. Most people think if we all exercise the same and eat the same, we'd all look the same. And let me tell you why that's wrong. Your body is unique and your metabolism is unique. I'm Lacey Green and I'm a super trainer at Body. That's BODI.com. And you can't see me, but I don't look like your average personal trainer. I'm curvy and I'm proud of it. So I created a program for beginners only on the Body app to show people like us how to get incredible results and be our version of happy and healthy. This isn't just workout videos. It's people like you and me. It's community. It's incredible trainers. It's easy to follow nutrition and mindset experts to help you reduce stress and just feel better. And you can get started with my new program called For Beginners Only. Now, here's the big surprise. If you go to body.com right now, that's BODI.com, not only can you get everything Body has to offer at 50% off with an annual membership, you'll also get an additional 20% off, but only during Labor Day weekend. Let's do this together. Go to body.com. That's body with an I.com.